Thanks, Jane and team, for this. Look, the last time this came was we endorsed the selected concept design. That was the stage it was at. One of the questions I raised at that time was, at what stage was it going to the urban design panel? So has it been to the urban design panel now?
Through the Mayor, no, it has not been to the urban design panel at this point. The large proportion of energy that's occurred since it came to the governing body since February is to focus on the application to New Zealand Lotteries and to understand what the funding gap was and what options we were looking at. With today's decision, once we've got that decision and clear direction, we're focused again on that design, and through that phase we'll take that to the urban design panel.
So will it, I just want some assurance, because I did ask this last time, I want some assurance that it will go at the earliest opportunity. The urban design panel does not like to see designs once they're worked up to the nth degree. So will it go, that the agreed concept, will that go, or is it going to get worked up to a state where it's possibly can't be amended hugely? I think you know the process of the urban design panel. I just want some assurance that it's going there.
Yes, at the earliest opportunity, certainly, and based on initial discussions, the scale and nature of this particular design, it may be more of an iterative process in working with the urban design panel. Okay,
so on that note, Mr Chair, I wonder if the D, there's a number of parties that are going to be engaged with there. I wonder if we can put in the words urban design panel. It's probably just slotted in there with the D, which is acknowledgement of a party that it needs to be before the D, if that's what movers and seconders would agree with too. And just the other point, on the additional 920k, that is for working up the design, that 920k.
No, through the Mayor, the 920 is the total funding gap for the current design as it stands, including construction.
So it does include the capital work as well,
Correct.
Some of the capital work. So what would the percentage of professional services be on this project? How much would be, because I'm struggling to break all these down, what would the percentage of professional services versus actual capital build be?
Through the Mayor, I haven't got that specific percentage with me to be able to provide an exact amount, but you'll see on page 60 the breakdown of costs provides you some indication that the design and build itself is the 2.1 million. This is noting the current design, notwithstanding that there is additional work to occur on the connection, and the other expenses are in the vicinity of 440,000, and it's listed there as the kind of expenses which include likes of engineering, archaeological, ecological, specialist advice.
Well, just out of that 920, how much is that capital build and how much is professional services?
The 920 needs to be added to the existing funding, so we already have $1 million from council and 655,000 from lotteries, bringing that total project budget up to 2.5 million. Of that 2.5 million, 440,000, or approximately a ninth or so of the budget, is towards the design, build, design and specialist advice.
Okay, all right. And on a project like this, does the major and special projects team, a skilled project manager, is that person engaged now?
Yes, we have a skilled project manager on board, as well as a very comprehensive design team, as was reported to you back in February and highlighted in the resolution. It's a consortium with a number of specialists.
No, I'm talking from our major projects. I think it's the major and special projects team. They are charged with managing projects like this from within the organisation. I'm not talking about a consortium. I'm talking about from the organisation itself.
Can I say we've been through a very long and, I must say, at times challenging process. We've had a design brief which has been discussed and debated at length, and then we've had expectations from mana whenua, which also have had a major impact on the theme, if you will, of the design. I think it's important that while we need a concept which has the broad support of Aucklanders, I think it's important that we don't have too many designers and urban design panels and design managers over and above what we have now. Otherwise, we could be redesigning this for a long, long time. I think we need to steer a middle path by being as inclusive as possible and consulting with the urban design panel, but I don't think we should give anyone a brief to start all over again.
So, Mr. Mayor, I was on the World War I Working Party. I asked some questions about this at the early stage. In those first 3 years, I was quite concerned about this becoming inherited by council, and we've inherited $1 million of it so far. So I'm just asking, we do have a major and special projects team. That team is put in place to put skilled eyes over projects like this so that don't blow out. There's a lot of professional services in this total quantum. That concerns me. I'm just asking, and the question is the special and major projects team a skilled project manager assigned to this task right now?
Actually, if we do one with every $1 million project or $2 or $3 million project, we're never going to
we can't answer that. We'll come back to you.
Can I make the point that, without getting into an argument, the council's contribution at this stage compared to other projects and admin work and whatever consultants is pretty minimal. It is a modest project. It is designed to be a modest project. We don't want to compete with the superlative War Memorial Museum itself. It's just to enhance it. But in terms of the council's contribution of $1 million, this is not a major investment, and that is why there is scope for a public contribution. Just to compare how major this project is, Auckland Transport built a temporary cycleway along Quay Street of 1 kilometre in length for $2.4 million. So that gives you some idea of this, that this is not a major spend by this council. It is a modest one, because what we want to achieve is something that is modest and sensitive.
Okay, so Councillor Chris, I think we've had quite a good run at this. I mean, it's clearly been watched over by many eyes thus far and will continue to be. So I think questions were good and have been asked and answered. Are there any other questions or comments about this matter? Councillor Christine.
Mr. Chairman, in speaking to this, and the comfort that perhaps members of the governing body may want on this, I think the fact that we are all of the view that after a very respectful process and not wanting to put a weighting on any organisation, we have now reached the point that the work is done and it's being delegated to our CEO. Our CEO is the most senior officer within this council. He will be working with all arms of the council to see this project forward. This is a project that touches the lives of all of the men and women and grandchildren, and may I say that it's an excellent design that not only captures the sacrifices of the men and the soldiers, but also of the women and the Red Cross nurses and all of those that were left at home. I think it's an excellent project. It will require the love and the financial support from Aucklanders to see it through, and I hope it's something that will have a sense of ownership by all. I also want to just conclude on the note that Jane Aiken has done an exemplary job. She is also the advisor to the Auckland Domain Committee, and these are not easy projects because you are dealing with some of the most sensitive areas in New Zealand. So I'd like to acknowledge Jane, I'd like to acknowledge again Councillor Lee in actually being able to bring a very complex matter forward, and would really recommend to officers and to members of the governing body that we support this, knowing that it will have the oversight from the CEO.
Wonderful. I think that is a good way to conclude the discussion.
So, Mr. Mayor, I don't really need such a motion if the words urban design panel just go into the D.
Yeah. I think, I mean, that's a given, but I'm quite happy for it to be there because they will be doing work on it anyhow. So just insert it in D. I'm happy to move, C rather, C, sorry. I'm happy to move that with that small indentation. I'll move that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you. Right, and thank you very much to you all. Now, just